A couple of days off. We needed that after kind of a really long stretch in terms of coming back from Maui and getting our biological time clocks reorganized and quick turnarounds. Disappointing loss at Notre Dame. Had a chance, and yet came away feeling pretty good about some things that we did. I thought we had played with a much better purpose on both ends. Thought for the first half, thought for about 30 minutes. Defensively, we did some good things. We had a little bit of a lull for about 8 to 10 minutes defensively, where shots didn't go in for us on one end and we didn't guard on the other. But then we took a couple days off. That's mandated by the NCAA. We have a busy week this coming week with Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, so we don't have a day off this week, so we had to take 2 off. Came back yesterday and started in on Big Ten opponent, Nebraska, and a veteran team, a team that is returns basically everybody from a year ago in terms of their starters. They are one of the top defensive teams in the country. They're leading, we're in the top 5 in most every defensive category, and so we've got to be good offensively, and we've got to be very, very solid defensively. They're not an ultra physical team in terms of throwing size out there of physicality, but they're a team that is athletic and versatile, and they pose some problems that way.
Coach, when you look at the film the last couple of games, is there anything that sticks out in terms of progress or something that encourages you that you've seen you get better?
Yeah, I think that give you a great example. We've done a much better job of establishing Georgie, so we've got a little inside out. We missed 13 layups in the Notre Dame game. 13. That's a lot, and yet we missed 19 rolls where guys are open, and we've got to start cleaning those things up. Those are opportunities that are at the rim. Georgie's playing literally as well as anybody right now in terms of his field goal percentage. He's guarding, and he needs to be a viable option, and yet we've got to clean some of that up. We worked hard on that yesterday, and I like the balance we had. And AJ's playing as well as anybody. Trent's having to handle it maybe too much. We got to get Dre back on the ball, a little more Io back on the ball. But I like some things, and then I thought defensively we executed a game plan for the most part pretty well.
How's Trent's ankle? Any side effects from the
Just a tweak, and again a couple of days of rest helped that, and a lot of treatment. So he's back and good.
What's Tevian's status right now?
Still will not play. So violation of team policy, and he'll continue to work and practice and do those things, but won't suit.
With Nebraska returning, it's basically the entire starting lineup. How are they maybe even made a little different this year with that group?
Well, I think the one thing is, last year they had maybe a little better depth because it was experienced. It was bigger. They're not as big as they were last year. Last year they had a couple guys that they played and that were seniors, and they start really 5'10" to 6 foot guards. And Allen's a terrific shooter, but I don't think they have maybe the depth that they've had on the perimeter. Now that's not taking a slight at any of their kids. Their starters are averaging all plus 30 minutes a game, and in a lot of games that there's blowouts, and so they're a little different that way. Last year I thought depth was one of their big advantages, and they didn't lose a lot when they went to their bench. Palmer's having a terrific year, as is Watson. Watson, in the film I've watched, has probably made the biggest jump in terms of stepping up his game. He's playing very, very aggressively, and last year we kind of kept him in check. I think he averaged 5 a game against us. So, you know, he's been a difference maker for him.
What's the key to this Nebraska team for you guys?
Well, I think there's a couple. I think the one thing is that they run so much. You can tell they're a veteran team. I'd hate to see what Tim's play sheet looks like. He's got a lot of stuff in, and I bet there's 50, 60 different options. You know, I still go back to you've got to do a good job on Palmer. You've got to make his stuff uncomfortable. And yet Copeland is a guy that scares me to death, because he's a guy that even though he's probably more of a guard, plays the power forward spot. They do a lot of action with him off the ball in terms of screening. You know, Roby's a guy who's averaging 5 shots a game, but yet he's a guy that steps out and shoots threes, and you've got to know where he's at. You got to account for him, and so you know they're a very versatile team offensively, and then defensively, you know they do a great job. They run you off the line, they don't foul, and you know those guys will. We've got to make them guard. That's the one thing we have to make them do, is be patient enough to force them to guard us.
Your teams have had a knack for falling behind by double figures, yet coming back and almost, you know, winning on 2 occasions this year. Is that just the rigors of having a young team that really hasn't figured everything out yet?
No, absolutely. You go back in the game, and you know we've talked about at length. It's a lot of little things. We have a rebound where Georgie and DeMonte both have their hands on the ball. There's not a Notre Dame player in the picture, and we fumbled it out of bounds. We had 3 loose balls that went their way, and one of them went right between our legs, and the other one hit Dre's hands, and he fumbled out of bounds. There's 2 seconds on the shot clock. AJ trips over his feet on an inbounds play, and we foul him with 2 seconds. You start adding those 5 or 6 plays up, and those become huge plays in a game. Kipper's technical. You start adding those little plays up in a 2-point game, and those are impactful. And those are all growing things. It's amazing how veterans come up with loose balls, and young guys don't. And you know, we stress those things. We talk about those things. We can't let our offense dictate our defense. It's got to be the other way around. And you know, we got flustered the other night, and we lost our composure. We didn't have enough poise to keep fighting on the defensive end. We've talked ad nauseum about that. That's youth and inexperience, and first time on the road. But we're growing, and this team's so exciting because they want to learn. We had day off Wednesday. They were all in. They were all watching film, and they were all in getting shots, and that's why I like this team so much. But yeah, that's a big part of it, and yet there's no quit in them, and they're going to fight. And you know, when you see the still picture of Trent's last shot, know that it was at least halfway in. You know, we're close, but yet we got to do some things better to win those games.
Is this a game where being this battle tested this early can really help you?
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's no question. You know, our schedule has been. Let's put it this way. I like where we're at, and this sounds crazy. Instead of being 6-1 and playing nobody, or undefeated and playing nobody, at least we know. At least we know. We've been on the road and played a high-level opponent. We played the best team in the country. We've played back-to-backs, and we've seen great bigs. We've seen great guards. There's not going to be any surprises. We have seen them. Now we got to figure out how to win them, and we got to be tough enough to do that. And those are the things that we're talking about every single day. It's why I felt good coming out of the Notre Dame game, even though we lost. We fought back. We played well enough to win the game, and we're little things away. And you know, we emphasized rebounding. Notre Dame's the 8th best rebounding team in the country. We out-rebounded. This group is paying attention. They're listening, and you know, it helps playing. You know, it helps playing the Gonzagas and the Xaviers and the teams we've played, because we've seen a little bit of everything. So yeah, we're not going in without understanding who we are and what we're up against.
You mentioned that veteran teams are the ones who come away with those loose balls, and Nebraska's exactly that. How much have you focused in on those 4 or 5 little plays since that Notre Dame game?
It's been most of our focus. We got to do some things better offensively. The biggest challenge with the Notre Dame game is we didn't get practice. We kept it. We had a one-day prep and some things offensively that a veteran team can do. Just talking about it. We have to rep them. We have to get in practice, and Notre Dame schemed us a little bit, and we didn't handle that very well. And you start doing that and loose ball things, and we've cleaned some of that up, and we know we're playing hard, but we got to come up with those plays. And it's not relaxing when you're away from the ball. It's blocking out every time. It's being in tune with the game, and we're getting there.
Since Kipper being taken out of the starting lineup, what have you thought of his play, and how do you maybe get him to be more assertive offensively, especially maybe in like the pinch post or something?
Well, I think the one thing that we feel pretty good about, we did a plus minus of all of our high major games, and Kipper's a +5 in our high major games when we play him in the pinch post. It's not so good out on the perimeter. I'm not worried about Kipper going offensively. I'm much more worried about him on the other end and getting going there where he can become an asset. Just watching our Nebraska game last year here, that was a guy who got contested rebounds and flew around, and that's the Kipper we need. We need the guy who'll go get us 6 rebounds a game, and it'll be amazing how good his offense will become once he starts consistently doing those things. And he had good practice yesterday, so I'm expecting Kipper to be really good on Sunday.
Iowa's done a lot of other things well, especially his rebounding the last couple of games. What maybe can he do to get going a little bit offensively again after a pretty good start?
Well, I thought he got off to a really good start against Notre Dame in terms of attacking and aggressive. He's proven that he's a very, very good jump shooter. He's making shots. He just missed literally layups. I mean, he missed 3 or 4 layups. I think he was 1 of 4 on layups, and that's something he's going to make every time. He's one of the, I said it many times, he was one of the best layup makers I saw when I recruited him, and just had one of those nights. He's one of the guys that I don't worry about because he does everything else. His intent to do what we ask is on the defensive end, on rebounding. We got to put him in situations maybe a little more with the ball based on matchups. I have no complaints with anything he's doing. He, make a couple layups, and all of a sudden he's got a 14-point game and 9 rebounds, and we're singing a different song. But he's been awfully good for a freshman.
We've seen flashes from Adonis, but how close do you think he is to consistently being that guy?
It's a great question. I think Adonis it's about comfort for him. I think it's as much mental as it is the physical. He's still not in great shape, but here's a young man who was in both days this week and spent time on the treadmill, and we saw flashes in Maui. He didn't play very well against Notre Dame, but he's not comfortable. He's just trying to, I think, find his way yet, and yet he had a very good day yesterday in practice. So I think every day he gets better and has a better chance to help us.
Is that a trust thing with his body, or is it just?
I think it's both. I think it's mental as well as physical. I think he's got to feel comfortable in our system. He's got to feel comfortable. He wasn't here this summer. He's trying to figure out where he's getting shots. Maybe a new defensive system in terms of rebounding the basketball. But he's very, very capable of helping us on both ends of the court.
How's Anthony doing with his recovery process?
Yeah, he's it's easy to get lost when you're Anthony and forget about him, but you know, every day he's in working out. He's getting jump shots. He's rehabbing. He's in with Fletch. Our nutritionist are monitoring his diet. You know, they're just, you want the progress to be sped up, and yet it can't be sped up when you've got a lower extremity and when it comes to conditioning and some of those things. But he's doing great, and he's not cleared for practice yet, and until that appointment happens with the docs and they give him the go-ahead, he'll continue to do what he's doing.
Do you have like a rough estimate where you think you might get cleared?
I have no idea. No idea.
What's the relationship? How is it developing between IU and Trent on the floor? Is there a part where they're trying to figure out who's who out there?
No, I don't think that at all. I think they're really close. Those two hang out together off the court all the time. I think they're great for each other. I think I think those two are very, very much in sync, and both on and off.
You've switched up the starting five a couple times the last few games. Is that something that's going to remain fluid based on matchups? Are you still looking for a five that's going to kind of carry through Big Ten play?
Still looking. You know, I think it's a lot of variables go into that. And again, the bench is as much as a part of that is just who starts. So yeah, we'll keep searching there.
You mentioned DeMonte says he likes to come off the bench. Have you been able to identify why he's more comfortable?
Oh, it's one of my, I go back to when I was at Stephen F. Austin, one of my best players, my second best player, never wanted to start. He loved to see the game, see how it unfolded, and it was 3 minutes and he was in. And it's kind of that way with DeMonte. He just likes that feeling. So anybody who's not concerned with that, I'm all bought in with, and he's not concerned with that at all. He would start if I wanted him to start, but he prefers to come off the bench. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Coach.